No matter how many times you try, you just can't keep a good supervillain down, because in the world of comic books, death, it seems, is basically just a mild inconvenience. And you know what? If you see a baddie take a tumble off a cliff, you gotta be pretty certain that they're gonna be coming back a few issues later, dusting themselves off. And the problem is popularity. If the villain in question gets a good reaction, then the heads at Marvel and DC aren't exactly gonna pass up the chance to make more cash, are they? However, it has made for some truly hilarious moments when you realize just how many times certain villains have bit the big one, only to shrug it off like it twas but a scratch. So let's take a look at some death-defying dealers of destruction and darkness. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 comic book supervillains who have died the most. Number 10. Claw. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ulysses Claw is an arms dealer who has a sonic disruptor built into his prosthetic hand, clearly for that hilarious handshake gag, no doubt. But in the comics, Claw is far more powerful. After entering a sonic converter, Claw's body was transformed into pure sound, allowing him to manipulate all auditory frequencies. Not only that, Claw is virtually immortal. Even if Claw is seemingly destroyed, he'll simply reconstitute his body, and trust me, he's been seemingly destroyed many times over. As Carol Danvers has beaten him to death, he's been slashed to pieces by Carnage, dissipated by Black Panther, destroyed by Dazzler, drowned in the Pacific Ocean, and absorbed by Galactus's computer. But so long as there is sound in the universe, Claw can never die for long. And you know what you're thinking? Based on that logic, you might be saying, well, Claw can therefore only be killed by destroying him in a vacuum. Nope, that just makes him go dormant, because once his consciousness detects the slightest sound, he will reform. He may not be the deadliest supervillain, but all the heroes of Earth see him as a formidable foe, since they have no idea how to put him down for good. Number 9. Galactus. Galen is the only survivor of the previous universe. When the modern universe was formed, he absorbed the energy from his reality and was reborn as Galactus. Although Galen died, Galactus didn't realize that this would actually be the first of many times that he would meet his demise. In Silver Surfer number 109, the ultimate nullifier was used to, well, nullify Galactus' experience. However, his herald, the Silver Surfer, managed to use the device to return his master to life, so he was back with a vengeance. Later, during the Infinity Gauntlet saga, Thanos used the Infinity Stones to kill Galactus, but when Thanos was defeated, Galactus was revived. In the 2000 story, The Death of Galactus, you'd probably think with a title like that we were definitely going to see the big man put to rest, but nope, he was back again soon after. Even in the DC Marvel crossover JLA/Avengers, Krona destroyed Galactus and turned his armor into a fortress. Hell, he's even killed himself in a bizarre sense, thanks to a story which saw a modern-day version of Galactus kill a future version of himself because he'd found out that he'd been turned into what amounts to a big battery that powers a planet. But yet, he still survives. Number 8. Joker. No one has cheated death in comics more than the Joker. Even his debut comic concluded with him seemingly perishing after being stabbed in the heart, and since then he's air quotes fallen to his death from a lighthouse, motorway, cliff, trapdoor, cave, boat, blimp and train, but has always managed to land just right to live another day. And if you thought that shooting the demented clown would be a way to surely kill him, guess again. He was shot 8 times in the Demon Laughs storyline, but was revived with a Lazarus pit, and then he got shot in the forehead at point blank range, but was back to his normal self soon after. Well, normal by his standards, that is. Nightwing beat the Joker to death after he thought that the Clown Prince of Crime killed Robin, but was resurrected with CPR. Batman killed Joker in the finale of Endgame, but his body was regenerated with a chemical called Dionysium. And in the non-canon tales, my god, he's been in the blender more than anyone else. But because these exist outside of the main line, he seems like he will always have the last laugh. Number 7. Thanos. Now, Thanos might be Marvel's big bad, but that doesn't mean that he's taken a dirt nap from time to time. He was first killed in the Avengers Annual number 7, when Adam Warlock turned him into granite. Then, during Annihilation, Drax killed Thanos by ripping his heart out, and when Drax learned that Thanos had been resurrected, he then killed the Mad Titan again, this time with an antimatter bomb. And somehow he was brought back again, and came back to swing fists at a god-level powered Doom, who promptly ripped Thanos' spine out. Ouch. And yet, he came back again, this time after the big reset button was pushed on the universe, only to be decapitated by Gamora. Seriously, man, just stay down at this point. He's also been sucked into a black hole pretty recently, but I'm sure he'll be back. Number 6. Red Skull. Captain America has been battling Johann Schmidt, aka the Red Skull, since World War II, and when you consider that he was born nearly a century ago, you might wonder how Skull hasn't actually died yet. Well, in truth, he has. A lot. After he perished from old age, his biochemist mate Zola created a clone of Captain America and inserted Skull's mind into it. When he was assassinated by the Winter Soldier, he transferred his mind into his rival Alexander Lukin. When Lukin was killed, Zola then inserted Skull's mind into an android body. Shortly after, he tried to insert his mind into the body of Captain America, but this plan failed, and this seemingly destroyed Skull's consciousness. Right, we're done. Dust our hands. We're done with him, right? Nope. He had a backup plan because if you can't tell, he's got a lot of them, and this time Skull had a series of clones hidden around the world that would activate at certain times throughout history. When Skull died, one of these clones awakened and stole the brain of Professor X to give himself psychic powers. This clone was ultimately killed by a brainwash Hydra version of Captain America, but that in itself is a long story. But in short, there's still more of them around, and he will probably never ever be done with. Number 5. Ra's al Ghul. Like the Joker, Ra's al Ghul has a reputation for cheating death, and thanks to the Lazarus Pit, he's been in a state of death and life for 6 centuries. Although he's been seemingly killed by swords, knives, bullets, and even a circus tent, Ra's has come back stronger than ever thanks to a quick sponge bath. After Ra's was murdered by his other daughter Nyssa and cremated, Batman assumed that the demon's head was finally gone for good. But even this wasn't enough. You see, Ra's was an alchemist and an occultist, giving him vast knowledge on reincarnation, and so after his demise, his followers performed a ritual and his soul was transferred into the body of his son. And I bet he loved that. Number 4. The Jackal, Ben Reilly. After learning how to develop human clones, Miles Warren became the supervillain known as the JACKAL, and his most infamous moment came when he created a clone of Spider-Man called Ben Reilly and convinced him that he was the real Spider-Man and Peter Parker was the clone. Talk about messing with someone's head, right? Across his experiments, Miles killed Ben Reilly and then cloned him back to life 23 times. After realizing that he was trapped in a cycle of death and rebirth, Reilly finally escaped, created a clone army, and became the new JACKAL. And while things started off well for the new JACKAL, he definitely slipped into supervillain territory thanks to his use of torture and murder and even using said clone army to take on Spider-Man. Thankfully, he was stopped and saw the errors of his ways and has since tried his best to redeem himself. Number 3. Solomon Grundy. After a gangster called Cyrus Gold was murdered in the late 19th century, his body was dumped into the mysterious Slaughter Swamp. 50 years later, the corpse reanimated itself into a hulking zombie known as Solomon Grundy and went on to a murder streak. It's absolutely mad, but also equally brilliant. Things didn't go so well though, because Alan Scott shoved Grundy in front of an oncoming train, tearing the zombie to bits. However, it takes more than being splattered into 1,000 pieces to take out Grundy due to the magical properties of Slaughter Swamp, because Grundy will resurrect himself soon after he perishes again and again. Unfortunately, maybe because they know that he's just going to come back, this means that superheroes rarely pull their punches with Grundy, and he's been ripped to shreds, incinerated, drowned, and even abandoned on the moon. Yes, that's right, the moon. And yet, he'll never rest for long. Quite terrifying, right? Number 2. Multi-Man. Duncan Pramble was a research assistant until he discovered and imbibed an elixir called liquid light. This fluid endowed Pramble with resurrection powers, rendering him immortal. He learned that each time he died, he automatically resurrected with a different superpower. With this newfound ability, he became the supervillain Multi-Man. Through his resurrections, he's obtained countless powers, including corrosive blood, shape-shifting abilities, flight, energy manipulation, and even superconductive skin. However, this has obviously meant that he's been killed hundreds of times, and the Joker can claim 81 of these kills thanks to him murdering Multi-Man over and over until he generated a power that would help him escape prison. And when the government arrived to sort all of this out, they then killed Multi-Man 30-odd times in order to get powers to undo this problem. Not a good time for Multi-Man, I imagine. And number 1, Doomsday. 750,000 years ago, a scientist called Bertron decided to make the perfect life form, and so created Doomsday. When Doomsday was an infant, Bertron sent it to the most inhospitable planets possible, causing the child to die almost immediately. Bertron then took a sample of the baby cells, cloned them, and redid the experiment countless times. Every time Bertram performed the test, Doomsday lasted slightly longer. First, he survived for 3 seconds, then 5 seconds, then 20 seconds, then a minute, then 6 minutes, etc. etc., etc. After being killed thousands of times, Doomsday had evolved to be practically indestructible. He has no internal organs and is composed completely of pure flesh. Because he doesn't have a brain or a heart, he has no discernible weak spots either, and if Doomsday does die, he resurrects himself and becomes immune to whatever killed him in that way. Oh, super. And speaking of Superman, in fact, the big blue Boy Scout once threw Doomsday into the future to the point where the universe itself had ended, and the entropy of the deteriorating universe shredded Doomsday to nothingness, and he still came back to life. If the end of the universe cannot kill Doomsday, nothing will. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 comic book supervillains who have died the most. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as any other entries you would have, because who knows, I might come back and do a commented edition of this further down the line. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.